Good evening, this is Atmospheric Alex here, and welcome back to yet another urgent U.S. weather forecast outlook and discussion. As you could tell by the thumbnail, we're currently sitting at a level of concern of a 5 out of 5. We have got a really intense storm system that is going to be churning off the Carolina coast. Could you see blizzard-like conditions with damaging winds, heavy wave action, and most importantly, really heavy snowfall? We'll find out in today's video. And here's a current look at our analysis data right here. You can see we still have a lot of lake effect snow ongoing here across your Great Lakes. I mean, it seems like every single video I'm going to be talking about this now. Look at off of Lake Superior to a lot more colder air streaming down. Bit of an atmospheric river ongoing out here into portions of Washington State, but that's not too significant. And maybe we may have some light precipitation reaching the ground here, but overall, I'd say lake effect snow is taking the cake for activity right now. Here's a look at our current alert map, though. You can see across some of these areas here, we do have cold weather advisories still in effect, lake effect snow warnings off of Ontario. That's really about it, but our alert map is really going to light up over the next few days here. We do have freeze warnings going deep into Florida there, I will note. And it sure is a good thing I checked our winter storm severity index. I forgot to pull it up originally. We are talking about moderate to major winter weather impacts here in the form of snow. So we are going to be having a really intense storm system move through here. Honestly, I'm a bit surprised we don't have higher probabilities here along the Outer Banks area just yet. I wouldn't be shocked if we actually see some extreme probabilities by the time this storm is raging. So we're going to have to wait and see on that. You're about to see why. Their model data. Before that, we do have a lot of key messages to read out here. We have, again, heavy snow that is going to be moving on through, and anything really urgent I'm going to have to highlight here in pink, skipping right to pink color instead of red. Confidence continues to increase for a significant heavy snow across much of the southern Appalachians, Carolinas, and southern mid-Atlantic Friday into Sunday. Confidence for snowfall impacts remain lower farther north, with the exception of southeast New England. Very, very interesting. You'd think that there'd be more snow further north, but in this case, might not be the case. Strong winds and coastal impacts. This rapidly deepening storm system will produce widespread strong winds, maybe even damaging winds, over the southeast and the east coast. With these winds overlap with snowfall, reduced visibility and blowing snow is expected, which will create travel conditions. And along the mid-Atlantic coast into portions of North Carolina, powerful onshore winds coincident with astronomical high tides. I didn't even see this before, but we could be talking about high tides. This could produce periods of significant coastal flooding and damaging waves this weekend. Storm surge, in my opinion, is going to be a pretty big risk along your Outer Banks, and there's a lot of forecast uncertainties as well. I highly suggest that you do visit weather.gov if you have any more questions, any information in general about this storm system. You'll find all the expert official data there. Here's a look at our European model here in terms of our storm system. Some light snow blowing through. It does appear that our kind of our lobe, our trough, if you will, is going to be just a tad bit further off to the east than to the west. So, your snow impacts won't be as serious here across portions of Tennessee, but look at North and South Carolina. We're going to be talking about some moderate to heavy snowfall overspreading South Carolina, North Carolina there, and you see our rapidly deepening low pressure system off the coast, and boom, right there, down in 977 millibars. This would be considered a bomb cyclone, folks. Very, very serious storm system. Very heavy snowfall here along your immediate coast. Damaging winds in your Outer Banks. Take a look at this, 971 millibars. This is a very dangerous blizzard right here. For portions of North Carolina, very heavy snowfall continues. We could potentially be talking about more impacts up here for Massachusetts. Ridiculously heavy snowfall rates are going to be possible up here. And according to the European model, we could see another low pressure system kind of wrap around and retrograde, but that's not a forecast because all that kind of mesoscale activity is going to be really hard to predict. That moves on through, and then your system is out. Your GFS model is honestly quite similar in its depiction here. Look at that system really ramping up there. Your Outer Banks getting absolutely hammered with heavy snowfall and damaging winds, but your low pressure system is not quite as intense on the GFS than it is on your European. That's something we really need to note. This continues on through. Again, it really does look like our impacts are going to be Saturday and Sunday for the duration of the system. And the GFS here actually shows your snow shield way offshore. So this doesn't even impact New England. Neither does it impact the Cape of Massachusetts either in this run. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of uncertainties further off to the north. Your Canadian model here, what does it show? That looks a little bit stranger on the output, but this does eventually wrap up a really intense system that has been very consistent with all model data. 978 millibars, blizzard conditions in your Outer Banks. If you're a storm chaser looking, to get some crazy activity this weekend, I'd highly recommend going to the Outer Banks. Again, heavy snow, damaging winds, storm surge. There's going to be a lot to talk about with this. And this continues on through. The Canadian model does actually impact portions of New England. And again, we're going to have to watch this. I think the Cape of Massachusetts could see more impacts. In terms of our snowfall, here's your national blend of all models. Let me just see if we have a new model run in. It does appear that we don't because it's a little bit early on, but we can at least take a look at this here and kind of speed up things here. Look at your snowfall. This is your ensemble mean. And we are taking a look at this here. Upwards of a foot of snow is going to be possible for central North Carolina. However, here's a little bit of something too. Temperatures, while the snow is ongoing, is going to be extremely cold. So in these areas here, you need to multiply your snow totals by 1.5 to 1.8. That is basically going to be higher snow ratios. Again, when you have colder temperatures, more snow is going to be able to stick. And that's what we're going to see. So I wouldn't be shocked if some areas receive 16 to near 20 inches of snow. Not a forecast, but it is a possibility that we're really going to have to keep our eyes on. And then you can see, again, New England. Look at Massachusetts getting hammered with 15 inches of snow. Snow ratios will be lower up there. And so maybe around 14 to 18 inches, but that's not a forecast yet. Our European singular model here, what does it show? Quite a bit of snow across East Tennessee, getting up to around, 8 inches? 9, 10 almost for Sevier County, Tennessee. I really don't think that's going to happen. I think that's way too aggressive from the European model. East Tennessee getting absolutely smoked there in that model run. All other areas here, around a foot of snow. This is on your proper Kuchera snow ratios, so you wouldn't have to add or multiply anything to this. But 12 to 14 inches is possible here. Outer Banks getting a walloping around 16 inches. And then, wow, Massachusetts up here. Around 28 inches. That's not a forecast, but a lot of snow is coming your way. How about your European ensemble? Really lights up quickly, around 7.5 inches on your ensemble. That's pretty significant. Look it up here for Massachusetts, 17 inches. Holy smokes, that's, I think, the most amount of snow I've ever seen on a Euro ensemble before. Very heavy snow. Outer Banks picking up near around 11 inches there, but if you were to add your snow ratios, it'd be closer to 15 inches. Quite a healthy mean right here. If we look at the one earlier in the day, you can see we've had a major increase here of snowfall. If you kind of take a look, things have shifted kind of off to the west even further right here. Something to note, East Tennessee, 3 to 5 inch snow mean. I really do think you all there could be in for quite a surprise. We need to really watch, and monitor forecasts for sure. About our AI model here, AI singular, you can see the Outer Banks gets crushed probably around 16 to 18 inches on that output there, screaming up into Massachusetts. Again, East Tennessee, you guys could get a surprise, and we'll have to see. A 3 to 5 inch mean is very intriguing, and when we're talking about the wrong snow ratios, it's going to be really cold back here, 6 to 8 inches maybe on your proper snow ratios. We'll have to wait and see. And by the way, more detail on your snow ratios, because I kind of glossed over it a bit. 10 to 1 means that for every 10 inches of snow will equal 1 inch of rain. When you've got colder weather, your snow will stick more easily, so you could have upwards of 15 to 1 ratios here across North Carolina. So that means for every 15 inches of snow will equal 1 inch of rain. So again, you will have more snow compared to if you had warmer temperatures. Very interesting for sure. And things are breaking here today. I have no idea what's going on. So we take a look at our AI ensemble. Looks to be fully out. This is brand new data. I haven't looked at this, and it has been an increase. Again, if we go back to 12Z here, we're only talking about a 3-inch snow mean for, say, the Charlotte area, and now we're up to a 4.5-inch snow mean. Things have really uptrended. For, again, your Outer Banks, over a foot of snow. I would seriously bank on there being over a foot of snow for your Outer Banks. I really do think that. Look at South Carolina getting smoked as well. East Tennessee, again, if we just have to keep watching out for our westward shifts, and they're becoming a lot more prominent on latest model runs. Our GFS Singular is going to cause a lot of chaos here as per usual. Jeez. But look at here. It shows upwards of 2 feet of snow. That is not a forecast. But again, seeing 16 to 20 inches in some localized spots would not shock me one bit. Outer Banks getting blasted as per usual. New England, complete miss. On your GFS ensemble here, look at the means here. Upwards of 7, almost 7.5 inches. Outer Banks. Geez, I mean, getting absolutely just wrecked here, and we're talking about 10 to 1 ratios. You're going to be seeing higher snow ratios than that, so multiply your numbers by 1.5 to 1.8 in some areas. In terms of your Canadian model here, we'll have to wait and see if some of this back-end energy can be able to verify. Very intrigued by that, but you can see big time westward shift. Look at that. East Tennessee between 2 to 4 inches of snow. Nashville, Tennessee getting a lot of snow. That's a big westward shift indeed. And as we talk about it here, this is a crazy model run. Man, almost 2 feet of snow for a large chunk of North Carolina. Look at the Delmarva, around 30 inches. Around Massachusetts, the Cape area, around 20. This would be an all-timer run right here. Georgia getting absolutely blasted here. Look at some portions of South Carolina, upwards of 20 inches. Wow. I mean, if the Canadian were to verify, we would be talking about a historic winter storm. I don't know, I wouldn't say a generational storm, but it would be very close to doing so, which is why, again, our level of concern is so high. And then for our wind risk, we'll go over in a minute. Our Canadian ensemble, since it was so keen on so much snow, shows the same thing. 9-inch mean there. Look it up there as well. And now we're going to take a look at one of our weather products that I feel has been a bit neglected. Just a little bit. I haven't seen this thrown around too much. This is your national blend of all models, your wind gust potential, maybe even forecast at this range. And you can see it's going to kind of underestimate your winds a bit. This model tends to do so. But we're talking around 50 mile an hour wind gusts here for your Outer Banks. So this is your absolute low end. This is your floor scenario. Again, your NBM, your floor scenario, showing around a foot of snow and 50 mile an hour winds. That is low end solution. Your low end. I mean, just think about that. That is absolutely ludicrous. And then up here, still around 50 mile an hour winds and tons of snow. Let me go ahead and just jump straight to the high-end scenario. This is going to be your maximum wind gusts here from your European model. I mean, this run straight up was out to get somebody, it seemed like. We're going to kind of progress on through time here. And you can see our system really cranking in our Gulf here. That's pretty significant. Upwards of 50 mile an hour wind gusts across Georgia as well. But we're talking around 70 mile an hour gusts for the Outer Banks upwards. And you can see here, if our low pressure system forms fast enough, whoops, kind of slipped a bit on our European model. That is 90 mile an hour wind gusts and over a foot of snow. This is a snow hurricane for the Outer Banks. If this solution verified, this would break a lot of records, I have a feeling. This would be a very historic storm. This would be a generational storm for the Outer Banks if we saw. something to the magnitude of the European mile. I mean, this is absolutely outrageous to see here. And these winds just continue. You can see, I mean, we're talking about damaging winds 60 plus miles an hour starting Saturday afternoon and going all the way through early Sunday afternoon. That is a destructive winter storm for those areas that will never be forgotten. Oh, tons of storm surge. I mean, we'd be talking about storm surge pretty much the equivalent of a Category 1 hurricane if that happened. Let that sink in for a second. I am not saying that's going to happen, not a forecast, but if we get a tight enough low pressure system, which is why I'm interested in our high-res mesoscale models for sure, again, we could be talking about hurricane impacts and maybe even voluntary evacuations. That would be insane to evacuate from a blizzard, but it could happen. Into your Cape of Massachusetts, gusts up 70 to 75, even 80. This European mile run goes in the Hall of Fame for being the most destructive winter storm I think I've ever seen in terms of wind and snow in general. That should kind of tell you that it's probably not going to verify at that intensity, but still. And as we look at our ensemble mean, geez, gusts up to 75 here on your mean. Again, this storm would not be forgotten for a long time. Gusts upwards of 75 to near 80 on your Cape of Massachusetts, with over a foot of snow all throughout those areas. Your GFS just for lulls and giggles here, because why not? Yeah, still talking around 70 mile an hour winds, but not nearly as significant. Remember, your floor is 50 miles an hour, so take that as you will. And then your ensemble mean around 60 miles an hour. And these winds actually go really far inland as well. That's something to note. I mean, this is a very high impact, very dangerous system. Our maximum individual wave heights goes as follows. If we're kind of tracking where our storm surge could occur and some of our coastal flooding with our high tide, by the way, high tide, let's not forget about that. We're going to look at our outer banks of North Carolina. But even everywhere else, look at your Bahamas. I gotta point this out. Could be seeing wave heights upwards of 30 to 40 feet. Geez, we were tracking that during hurricane season, weren't we? This is just getting ridiculous. But look at for your outer banks here. We could be seeing maximum individual wave heights of 35 to 45 feet right along the shoreline. Whoa, that is hurricane-like impacts right there. And this continues up the Cape of Massachusetts. Could even be talking about some wave heights upwards of 50 feet. That is nothing to be messing around with. I mean, portions like Scituate, Massachusetts there, where you have the breakwater, where you have basically the seawall. I'm going to phrase that a bit better. You could be talking about a lot of spray, maybe even some freezing spray as well. And that's another hazard on its own that we need to be watching closely for. If temperatures get cold enough near the coast, we're going to be talking about ice covering a lot of objects along your coastline. Not good news at all. Temperatures will be really cold while this snow is falling. I kind of hinted at this before, but we're talking about temperatures in your teens here. I mean, look at that, 15 degrees, and we have heavy dry snow, not wet snow, but dry snow. In your outer banks, temperatures a bit more mild, if you will, but behind the system, temperatures could fall into your single digits. So that's really nothing to mess with there. And kind of one last thing in the video. This video has to be at least 20 minutes long because of the level of concern, so I'm trying to fill in some time. Here is basically your European ensemble mean for probably the next 2 weeks or so. What I'm trying to do is we could be going into a pretty active wintry pattern after all this slides on by. I'm just trying to see where our 30-degree Fahrenheit line is, and you can see at the end of our time frame here is going to mid-February. Look at how far south our line goes yet again. Where have we seen this before, right? Totally didn't just get a major winter storm out of a situation like that, now did we? Well, as we look at our GFS ensemble, does it show roughly the same thing? You can see our big, by the way, I mean, this is an absolutely just ridiculous, huge honkin' Arctic outbreak here. Look at those just pink colors. I mean, that is a classic curvature, very low pressure system. As we go further through time, I've not looked at this run yet, so it's going to be interesting. It is a lot. And by a lot, I mean a lot colder than the last run. Look at how far south that line goes. And we are talking, this would definitely favor winter storm activity, maybe even major winter storm activity through the Ohio Valley. This look right here, I'm telling you, kind of seeing this kind of, slant like right here, low pressure here, riding like this. And we could be talking about A lot of snow just off to the north of that, all kind of in these areas here again. Not a forecast, but reminder of what we saw last time when we kind of saw things go a bit flat on our ensemble mean, and then we started seeing kind of that more positive tilt, if you will, to our gradient line. Something we need to watch out for. Our European ensemble shows exactly this. Our extended has really uptrended from yesterday, and we are talking, I mean, look at how far south our 6-inch line goes. Our 6-inch line is almost a Martin yet again. That's pretty serious. I mean, yeah, you don't have to be an expert. Just kind of look at the colors here. It's going to be snowy in February. Very, very snowy for probably a lot of people. That's what we're starting to see. And with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning into today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community, share this video with friends, family, and social media, and even leave a comment in the section below if you have any future suggestions for me next, and turn on your notifications. Again, the upload schedule is going to be a bit strange due to all the snow days kind of coming up. You know, the funny thing is I'm actually a bit more disorganized on snow days than I am on class days, because on class days you have a nice schedule to work with, and so I'm very rigid about that, and I'm able to get uploads out at 4:30 Central. But on snow days, I'm not usually hanging out, doing some homework, and so things kind of get all muddled up. So I would say 7:30 to 8 p.m. uploads are going to become quite the norm here, except for tomorrow and Saturday, because I'm going to be pretty busy, so hopefully I can get stuff out at 4:30. If I can't make a video, I'll let you know. Anyways, have a wonderful night, everyone. Stay extremely weather aware of this bomb cyclone, potentially historic storm system pushing through your area.